Hello everyone, and welcome to the Air Exchange. I'm your host, Bruce Larange, and I have a treat for you today. We're doing something a little bit different than we have done in the past. We have three family members joining us from Delhi, India, to introduce a transformative initiative that they've launched called Project Vayu, which is a project aimed at providing clean air solutions that are affordable and accessible to promote better public health and indoor air quality in North India. So we're very excited to have three young change makers on the show today. So I'd like to welcome Project Vayu, Savya, Krish, and Samarth to the show. So thank you for joining all.
Thank you so much for having us. It's a wonderful opportunity and a true pleasure to be on this show. And I'm just going to shift the camera to point
Thank
it.
you so much. Yeah.
And maybe what we can do is to get started, Savya, is maybe each of you from the team can share your name, your age, and how you are related.
All right, sure. So as you said, my name is Savya. I'm 16 years old and I'm in grade 12 at a school in New Delhi called the Vasant School. And I've been sort of leading this project for the past year. And I've been working on it with my brothers, my younger brother and my cousin. So I'll let them introduce themselves now.
Well, my name is Krish. I am 15 years old and I am studying at a school in New Delhi called Sanskriti School. And yeah, that's about it.
And Krish is my cousin,
Yeah.
my first cousin.
My name is Samarth. I'm 13 and I'm in grade 9 in the same school as my brother, Vasant Valley School in New Delhi.
Excellent. Well, it's great to meet you all. And I know it's not so easy to fit the three of you into one screen. So as we talk, I think it's fine to shift the camera. But again, I also wanted to thank you. I understand this week is a festive week, a holiday in India. So thank you for joining during your holiday.
Not at all. Thank you so much once again for having us as well.
All right, well, to get grounded and kick things off for our listeners, I thought that I would read a quick synopsis about Project Vayu, and then we can get into some questions and have a conversation. So just to read a synopsis so that everyone is aware of the project that you are leading, Project Vayu is an initiative spearheaded by the three family members who are present on today's podcast, who've developed an ultra low-cost air filter that retrofits wall and table fans to convert them into makeshift air purifiers. Hollingsworth and Vose has had the pleasure of being able to support this project by supplying filter media that's helped to refine the filter design. And we're looking forward to continuing to support you guys moving forward. The simple to use and equitable filtration solution has been tested and proven to reduce PM 2.5 in a 200 square foot room by over 90% in 1 hour. And just as a reference, 200 square feet would be in the US something similar to a single car garage in space. So a very effective solution. And it can be purchased for less than $2 a month, which by my math is less than 6 cents per day. So really a breakthrough in clean air inclusion, presenting an affordable and easily accessible solution for schools, homes, even public buildings and offices in India. Just a few last points and then we'll get into some questions. The Project Vayu team has focused their start on schools and already produced over 600 filter fittings installed in 295 classrooms across Delhi. And that's a pilot that's actually happening now. So at this scale, their filters will impact 8,000 students, but they have much bigger plans, as I'm sure they'll share over the next half hour or so. So amazing project, impressive and very ambitious. I guess a great place to begin is, how did this start? Can you share a little bit about why you began Project Vayu?
Yeah, of course. But firstly, thank you so much for that lovely introduction. I think that summarizes our work very well. So to answer your question, what is our origin story? So we all have some tie or the other related to indoor air quality, mitigation, air pollution. So Krish here, his father has dedicated much of his life to air pollution mitigation. So he's been a huge mentor for us, and Krish has also been a huge support. My younger brother, Samarth, he had breathing issues as a child, and our grandfather, was many years ago given a countdown on his life and was told that the pollution in Delhi was killing him. And doctors actually asked him to leave Delhi because they said that you aren't going to, I mean, this is not working out, and Delhi's air pollution is too toxic for you. Ultimately, he was able to find solutions which still allow him to stay in New Delhi. But the point is, it's a very personal issue. And we all live in New Delhi. And while the world faces four seasons, you have spring, you have summer, you have fall, and you have winter. In Delhi, we deal with the fifth, which is the pollution season. And New Delhi schools remain shut for weeks in a year. You see people falling sick. So it's all something that is truly from our hearts. And I think another key issue is Delhi is, due to the socio-economic situations in Delhi, clean air is unfortunately a luxury and not a guarantee. So there are people who can afford expensive air purifiers and have the means to filter and protect themselves from polluted air. And we are very privileged to be in that group. But at the same time, we believe that everyone deserves access to clean air and not just people who can afford it. So that was kind of the vision, to bring clean air to the masses and to make it a guarantee and not a luxury.
Amazing. Well, I applaud you certainly as a group and as a family to tackle this important matter and not just to become advocates and to study the issue and talk about it, but to really do something. So congratulations on starting this project. And I understand it's quite a personal one to you and to your family. So how do the three of you work together on this? What are each of your roles in the project?
Sure. So I'll start with my role. I am currently leading this project. So I've conducted a bunch of tests to verify that our solution is in fact effective. So I tested the impact of our filter on the airflow of wall and table fans. I tested the efficiency of our filters in reducing PM 2.5 and PM 10. I also coordinated with the H&V team in India, who have been absolutely fantastic. Our project would not be possible without them. And I also coordinated with external partners for the distribution of our filters in school. Now I'll hand it off to Krish to explain his role as well.
Yeah, so well, I connected us to many manufacturing partners. I coordinated the manufacturing with a family member who is in this industry, and and I also conducted testing for electricity and for like all the electricity parameters like the amperage, wattage, and voltage. And yeah, I think that's about it.
And now for my younger brother, Samarth.
So I verified the test results and took video recordings as proof of the performance of our balloon filters.
And then those videos were distributed to our partners to kind of convince them to get on board with us. So, for example, the organizations we were partnering with to distribute in schools and to the schools themselves, we showed them these videos to kind of convince them that our product is in fact legitimate and it is possible to decrease air pollution at just $2.
Amazing. Well, it really is a true family project, and yeah, I'm excited to get into some of the specifics about why you began with schools. But before we get there, the name Project Vayu. I understand there's a meaning to choosing that name. Can you share why you call the project Project Vayu?
Of course.
Yeah, so the name Vayu in Sanskrit actually means air, and in Indian mythology, Vayu is the god of wind, and it essentially represents the life. And in my opinion, it shows our deep connection into this Indian mythology. And well, yeah, I think that's about it.
So in
Very
many
nice.
years ago in India, you had clean air, and our goal is kind of to return to that era where they did speak Sanskrit, where clean air was very prevalent, and India was not known for having poor air pollution. So as Krish said, Vayu in Indian mythology is the god of wind and represents the vital breath of life that sustains all living beings. So it's this vision to return to a time of clean air, of fresh air.
It's a great name. It's very clever and very telling of the work that you're doing. Savia, and you've already talked a little bit about the challenges and why this is an important project to you. But are there any statistics or anything related to air quality before we get into the solutions, specifically that you share when you talk to people about why you've started this project?
Yes, so I'll give it a sum at that.
Sure. So people in Delhi lose up to like 11.9 years of their lives due to the high pollution levels as compared to someone living in a city which strictly follows the WHO guidelines, which is like 5 micrograms of PM 2.5 per cubic meter. This was a study conducted by the University of Chicago. So there's very little access to this clean air, especially due to the socioeconomic situation of Delhi, where the average income is approximately 5,500 US dollars. People just can't afford to buy these expensive air purifiers, which means that they need a low cost solution like ours to be able to access clean air.
Great, really well explained. And, I think that the idea of equitable air and clean air quality available to all is very noble and very necessary, not only in Delhi, New Delhi, but of course, that is a specific location where we know that air pollution
Yeah.
is a major issue. Well, let's talk a little bit about your solution. Do you have any samples to show, or maybe you can just kind of walk our listeners through what the solution is?
Of course, we do have samples. Very excited to show them, so I'll just get them on camera.
Okay.
So we have two designs that we've worked on. One we refer to as the shower cap design because this design directly wraps around the grills of wall and table fans. So I just give it to Krish to show it.
Yes, so this is the shower cap design. It is like it completely wraps around the fan.
And it's a tight fit. And then our second design is a balloon design inspired by balloon. It wraps around the fans in a similar way, but it has extra space, which means that when we do turn the fan on, this filter can expand. And the expansion of the filter allows a greater surface area for filtration. So there's more air passing through our filter at any given point of time. And this allows for greater filtration as compared to the shower cap design. Now, there is a little bit of trade-off which is involved with cost because in the balloon design, we do have a greater requirement for filter media, which means it costs about double that of the shower cap design. But at the same time, the balloon filter has a much longer lifespan as well. So we're dealing with a couple of simultaneous trade-offs here, which based on who is using it, they may have different preferences. So some schools prefer the shower cap because it costs less. And some schools prefer the balloon design because they say, well, it lasts longer. So we're dealing with trade-offs here. Yeah.
Yeah, you're already coming across a very common metric which we have in the filtration industry of total cost of ownership, which is the price to have something over the life of its use. So that's really interesting. Do you have a lifetime? Any thoughts on the length of time that you can effectively use the filters? Have you been able to measure that?
Yes, we have.
So, like, these are all approximate numbers, but according to the ambient, like PM 2.5 levels in a room, when it's below 50, then our filter can last up to like 300 hours. Between 50 to 150, it lasts about 200. From 150 to 300, it lasts 120. And above 300, it'll only last about 80 hours. And so, in peak pollution season in Delhi and in India, our filter tends to last 2 weeks, but usually it lasts longer than that as well.
Fantastic.
So it depends on how fast it gets, like the filter gets choked. So the greater the PM 2.5 levels will just get choked faster, which means the lifespan decreases faster.
And can you see, I mean, given, I know that the media that is being used is electret media, and do you actually see the results of the filter working? Is that something people can see?
Yes, I'll just show you a photo of a before and after. So
Yeah.
I'm just getting it. So this is a new versus used filter. So it is a very visible difference. I hope it's visible.
It's incredibly noticeable, and that's what I was curious about. I think at schools and where you're running the pilot, have you had
Mhm.
any feedback as people actually see the buildup on the filters that it's working, or I mean, is it surprising to people?
I think so. So I'll just show you a photo from a pilot of ours. Um, and they sent us this photo from their school of a used filter.
Wow.
And they were very surprised because I think the case with air pollution or indoor air pollution in a lot of places in Delhi and in India is that is there's a huge lack of awareness. So when someone does see a used filter, when they do see that we are effectively being able to reduce what's going on in their lungs, and when they're able to see that that stuff, that particulate matter would have ended up in their lungs, I think they do get very surprised, and it's a huge eye opener for them.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the work that we do at H&V is related to HVAC systems and filters that are usually not seen by people, except for those who are changing the filters, every month, every 3 months, every 6 months, or whatever that may be. So this idea of being able to actively see the level of the color change and realizing that those are particles that you're not breathing, I think is very eye-opening and really impactful for education awareness as well. Even other air purifiers, quite often, of course, the filter is covered. So this is pretty unique, I think, in any of the solutions that I've seen. How about the creation of this? Again, I appreciate not only the solution that you have all brought to the market, but also the fact that you're sort of journeying into business by trying this and understanding the process of making a product. How has it been making the prototypes, and have there been any surprises, or as you've tested this with real world conditions, any big learning as you've tried to actually create the filters?
Right. So we did go through a long process of eventually ending up in this design. So we started with testing fiberglass related media. And what we learned was that while it was great for filtration efficiency, the pressure drop was just too high. And it was not able to bring down PM 2.5 levels for an entire room. We then shifted to pleated filter media. Again, that was a much bigger, it was much more effective than the fiberglass media that we tried. And that's when and after testing the pleated media, we also tried testing the electrostatic media that H&B provided us. And that was the most effective. So I think it was just, we learned how to uh, experiment with different material. We learned different terms like how I'm saying pressure drop. We understood trade-offs between cost, between how much, what the filtration efficiency is, between how much airflow is going through the room, and able to bring down PM 2.5 levels in the room. So I think we've learned a lot of that, and I'll just hand it over to my brother to explain a bit of his learnings because he did have input in this question as well.
Yeah, so I think that it's like it was a learning experience because in the beginning we didn't really we didn't know much about filter media and about pleated filter, electrostatic filter until we began working on it. And I think we learned as the process went because we didn't really know enough about the industry right before we started. So it was a major learning experience as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, what a great process. I mean, I think, especially with schools and working in schools, to get this solution adopted, I think it must be very inspiring to your classmates and others to see and actually hear how you're communicating about these solutions. How have your classmates and colleagues been responding to this project?
I'll hand it over to Krish for this one.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure that they are quite happy with our solution. We have gotten a lot of positive responses from this, and yeah, that's about it. I got to elaborate on this. And yeah, quite a few principals have also been really overjoyed with with the solution. I'm pretty sure that all of them would be happy to give their testimonies after the pilot runs about how great our filter was. Yeah.
Great. Great. And I obviously you are students, and school is where there's a lot of need and opportunity for sure. But I am curious, was there any reason that you decided to start your pilots specifically in schools instead of, say, office buildings or commercial buildings or somewhere where groups gathered?
Yeah, sure. So, students and children, especially in a place like Delhi, are the ones who are most affected by, like, air pollution, and they face the largest consequence. This is for mainly two reasons. Firstly, because of the respiratory illnesses that they get. For example, asthma is exacerbated in Delhi due to the high air pollution, and a lot of people suffer. A lot of children suffer from respiratory illnesses. Secondly, it also affects their education because of the holidays. Firstly, that they get in like the festive season during Diwali when crackers are burst and when there's in peak pollution season. They miss a lot of school, and they also miss a lot of school if they're sick, which means both their education and their health is affected. Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
to add on to
yeah.
what Samad said, I think installing these filters in school makes students or makes children from a young age cognizant to air purification solutions. Like, at least it enters their head that this is a problem and it needs to be solved from a young age. So that's another goal.
I think it's fantastic. Again, clearly well thought through why you're doing everything you're doing with this project. And yes, absenteeism is very prevalent, as we know, in areas where you have pollution spikes. So it makes great sense that you would start with schools. And you mentioned cognitive ability as well. I mean, this is a pretty big question, difficult question, so you don't have to answer if you don't know. But as far as, health impacts or, is there anything that you're learning or that you attribute or think that will come from having these solutions in classrooms for students that could improve health or productivity or cognitive abilities of the students?
Yeah, so we don't have any way to test it ourselves. However, there has been extensive research done in Delhi and across the world that does prove that better air quality levels does contribute to higher cognitive ability, to higher brain function. Um, so I mean, yeah, so we're relying on those studies to for the decision to install these filters in schools specifically. But we don't, as of right now, we don't have any way to quantitatively test that ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, this is the next step. It feels like for everyone that is connected to and passionate about clean air for public health is how to really measure the health impacts and some of those benefits, let alone the safety of an environment. Just especially in an environment like a school where you have to think and be present. So in addition to just ventilation and moving air through, making sure that the air is clean is clearly crucial, but not easy to measure. So I know that's something I've had other guests on our podcast, we've discussed, and it's still sort of an open-ended issue that needs to be resolved with maybe more clarity. As you mentioned, Savya, there's some really great studies that are out there that are eye-opening, but still more needs to be done. So maybe we can collaborate in the future as you continue to progress with Vayu to figure out how we can maybe study some of those effects and hopefully positive health effects in the future.
Of course, of course.
So just a little bit of a wider lens now. The project itself, can you share a little bit about your bigger vision? I mean, I think it's fantastic what you're doing now in Delhi with the schools that are piloting, but do you have a bigger vision, a bigger plan beyond the existing pilot?
Yeah, of course. So as of right now in 2024, as you had said in our introduction, that we are conducting a pilot with 600 filters using the filter material that H&B provided us in Delhi. And then next year, if the pilot is successful, We will get feedback from the schools, we'll get feedback from the principals, testimonials, partner perhaps with some more organizations, and install up to 5,000 filters in schools if the pilot is successful. And given 5,000 filters with approximately, say, 20 to 30 students per class, that's a lot of students.
Wow.
Yeah, I think 5,000 filters with, say, 20 students per class is 100,000 students impacted. In 2026, we want to expand outside Delhi while still focusing around Delhi, so the outskirts of Delhi that still do face similar air quality impacts as New Delhi because of issues like stubble burning. So our goal is 20,000 filters in 2026. And then in 2027, we want to implement it across North India, which is 50,000 filters in schools. Very ambitious, I know, but we have a bit of a succession plan. So I'm currently in grade 12 and leading the project. And next year, I'll be heading off to college. And that's where Krish will take over. He's in grade 10 and he'll take over until he's in grade 12 until he leaves to college. And once Krish is gone, my younger brother Samarth will then take over and take the project as far and wide as possible. So we have this little plan. Hopefully it's successful.
It's amazing. I'm very, very excited to see how things evolve for you. And I love that you have a succession plan within your family to move that forward. Is there something that you think that you're going to need that you don't have now to be successful as you think about expanding beyond the current pilot? You know, what do you think you need to really be successful with this initiative?
Sure.
Yeah, so I think there are two main things. Firstly, is the current problem that we're facing, which is reaching out to and getting schools to agree to implement our filters and implement our solution in their school. Because I think it's really a task to reach out to so many schools. I think there are around 5,600 schools in Delhi or something like that. Of course, we can't target them all. But just reaching out to a large number of schools is definitely an issue. Secondly, in the long term, being able to manufacture the amount of filters that we want to manufacture, which, as my brother said, was 5,000 next year, 20,000 in 2026, and then 50,000 in 2027. Being able to manufacture such a large number of filters is definitely also going to be like a huge challenge that we're going to have to face.
Yeah, makes sense. It's a very big volume of both schools and product to manufacture. Are there any organizations that you're already partnering with or thinking to partner with that can maybe help with the scope of this project moving forward?
Yeah, so we have partnered with a few organizations, NGOs in Delhi that work with climate awareness in schools. So they have sort of contributed to our network and gotten the filters out to the schools that they are currently in. But we also want to go beyond that as well, and partner with other organizations that perhaps are working with other schools to get to as many schools as possible.
Yeah, it's really remarkable. I'm very, very inspired by what you're doing. I get the opportunity in the filtration industry, you know, as a professional that works in this field, to see a lot of advanced material innovations and to see the adoption of products in different ways. But this and how grassroots the approach is and how genuine the source of desire to make a difference is really inspiring. So I'm really enjoying this conversation. By the way, we typically try to have our episodes around 30 minutes or so, but I do have some more questions. This is so interesting. I want to keep going if you guys are okay with that. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, a few other things. So one thing that crossed my mind is, during the COVID, especially, and in the US, because there was such difficulty to access room air purifiers and supply chains and, things were quite messy. It became quite popular to create DIY, sort of do-it-yourself home air purifiers, and a project spread, which I'm sure you're aware of, called the Corsi-Rosenthal box project, based on the name of the founders that came up with the concept, where you take pleated panel filters and effectively tape them together to be airtight around a box fan, like a 20-inch box fan. It became quite popular. I think it was also something that helped people to think about as they were actually making the room air purifiers, to learn and really think about the problem that they were trying to stay safe against. So it was a really cool initiative. How do you think now, obviously, from a cost perspective, because part of your goal you've stated is, and maybe the main part, is equitable access to clean air, and having something that's a $2 every month cost versus what something like a Corsi-Rosenthal box, which again it varies, but let's say just to make outside of the fan might cost $40 to $50 in filters. Given the difference in cost, do you think that there's a significant difference in the performance of the solution that you have versus something like a traditional room air purifier or a Corsi-Rosenthal box? Do you have any testing or data or anything leading in the direction that you can sort of benchmark against other solutions that are in the market?
Of course. So coming back to this idea of cost and efficiency that you've brought up, we are less effective than a Corsi-Rosenthal box or a traditional room air purifier. So we are able to achieve approximately 90% PM2.5 reduction in rooms of 200 square feet. These other devices will probably be in the 97, 98, 99 to between 99 and 100% range. But as you said, ours is much more cost effective. And another advantage we have is that while we were going around schools, we noticed that a lot of schools, at least in Delhi, already have these wall fans, and they already have a lot of wall fans installed in classrooms. So that was not a cost that they would have to spend on. So that's why we try to adapt our solution to fit fans that already exist in classrooms. So while we do have, the traditional air purifiers have the advantage of firstly greater airflow and greater filtration, but we believe that the cost saving especially in a country like India, given the annual income, daily income, monthly income that my brother had mentioned, we wanted to focus more on cost reduction and were willing to compromise on a little bit of efficiency. So I'll share another very interesting statistic. There was a study conducted which said that the share of population exposed to unsafe PM2.5 levels and living on less than $5.50 a day is between 90 to 100% for most of India. So this idea of equitable air quality was a huge problem. So we were willing to compromise on efficiency a little bit for cost.
Yeah, that's really really well said, and very interesting that you identified that already the fans that this solution works with were available, so that cost is already covered.
Yeah.
A quick question on the environment when you have the covers on, whether it's the balloon or the shower cap style. Is there a noticeable difference in noise? We hadn't talked about this previously when we first spoke, but I'm curious, has there been any change to the environment by having the fan as far as it being more noisy?
Well, when compared to a fan when it's running without the filter and with the fan running with the filter, there's no difference in noise.
Okay.
Especially in winters when the fans are normally off, we will implement our filters and we'll be running the fan on speed 1 or 2, which doesn't make a difference in the noise at all. And yeah, I don't think there's any noise difference when we implement our filters with the fan.
Just one thing to add though, when we do put the fan on the highest setting, then there is a noise difference. Then it is noticeable. But when you run it on the lower speed settings, there is there is barely any noise difference than if you were to have a filter, if you would run the fan with or without the filter. So So it's going to be just as if the fan was running in the background.
Great. Yeah, I mean, I have heard before in school settings that sometimes some room air purifier, purifiers can be quite noisy, and that's a concern from teachers. So obviously, that's something that you don't add to the environment, which is another plus. Well, I think that, we've covered quite a bit here. I'm sure that our listeners are probably going to be curious and may have some additional questions. So hopefully this won't be the last time that we speak. I'm thinking now I'd love in a year's time or so, maybe as you move through the pilot, to stay in touch and potentially have you back on to share some updates about your progress. But before we do go, I did want to ask you just some general questions. How have you found as students balancing this project with what I imagine is a very busy schedule and time in your life? How has this been? What's your personal learning been as you've worked through this project together?
Sure. So I think we're going to answer this individually based on our different schedules because we're in different grades. So for me personally, it's been a bit of a challenge, but I think for the amount I've learned about how to be firstly a leader, how to lead a team, has been amazing. It's taught me so much just about being an entrepreneur as well, how to communicate with people, how to reach out to schools, how to reach out to external organizations I want to partner with. I think the learning has been worth the time commitment and whatever what else I had to contribute to the project in terms of perhaps a few late nights as well. I think it's been worth it. I have no complaints at all.
Yeah, so in my opinion, it's been pretty easy balancing my school life with this project because most of the work has been done by Savya. He has been the one assigning us with roles and jobs to do, except for the time where we were conducting tests, which took up, say, 12 hours in a day where I had to be active. Except for that, it has been pretty easy to manage my school life with the project.
Um, Considering that I'm in ninth grade, I'm younger than both of them. It's my first year of high school, which means that I haven't had too much difficulty managing Project Vayu and my school life because my school life isn't that difficult yet, and it isn't nearly as difficult as any one of my brothers. So I think it's been pretty easy for me until now, and I think I'll see how it goes in the next few years.
Wow. I feel like some listeners, especially in our professional network, are going to be extending job offers in the future to each of you. Have any of you, it's quite early as you're still in high school, but when you think about the future, is this project, has it made any of you think that this is an industry or an area where you'd like to pursue beyond school and beyond this project? Any thoughts there, or has this planted any seeds for the future?
So again, I think we're going to answer this individually. For me personally, this was not something that I had thought of before starting this project. I mean, of course, air quality was an issue that was very prevalent in our lives, but it's not something I had considered professionally. But um, right now, it is definitely something like I'm applying to college now for environmental engineering. So, but at the same time, I am open to exploration. I think that's a fantastic part about a higher education that it allows me to explore. So this is definitely something that I am considering, but at the same time, I am open to exploring interdisciplinary learning and just new fields. So whatever comes my way, wherever life takes me, I think that's where I'll go. But this has definitely been a significant influence.
Well, yeah, I have obviously thought about going into this industry before, considering that my father is in this industry and his business is all about air quality and reducing indoor air pollution. But now that I have actually worked with air quality and with these filters, I don't think that I am very interested in moving with this in the future and having this and doing pursuing this as my job, even though I'm very interested in it. I don't think this is something I would like to pursue in the future.
It's a stepping stone.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure what's gonna happen, and I'm not sure what I'm gonna do as I grow older. It's an option that I'm considering because I think it's a shared interest among all three of us. And I think that working on this project has given me experience and will continue to give me like an insight into what I want to do in the future and whether I want to pursue this field. But I'm not sure yet. So I think I'll see what happens.
I think it's a little too early for Samarth.
Yes, and I assume that, but it's really great to hear your thoughts. And again, it's really fantastic to hear how articulate you all are about what you're doing now and the reasons for it. And I'm sure that this is going to evolve not just the project and the very important solution that you're bringing to schools and hopefully beyond, but even for yourselves personally to experience manufacturing, entrepreneurship, engineering, the science around air filtration. There's a lot of things connected to a project like this. So I'm really excited to see how you leverage it, each of you personally, moving forward as well. Any last points? Before we say goodbye, is there anything else you'd like to share about the project or that we didn't cover or that you would want our listeners to know?
I don't think so. I think we've covered a lot of different aspects, whatever we wanted to share, our future plans. I think we've covered a huge variety of things. And I mean, if one thing I had to say is we're just excited to see what comes our way and where this goes. We're very excited for the future.
Fantastic. Well, I really want to thank you all again for joining, for the work that you're doing, which is so important, and for the reasons that you're doing it. And I'm sure I have a sneaking suspicion that maybe this is just a warm-up and someday I'll see you on Bloomberg or CNBC or some bigger platform talking about this project. But I wish you great success, and of course H&V is looking forward to helping any way that we can be useful as you continue to roll out this project in India.
Thank you so much. We look forward to continuing to work with H&V and seeing where this project goes. Thank you for your help and support.
Well, thank you all. And again, I'm rooting for your success and looking forward to staying in touch and learning how things go. And for our listeners, I'm sure that you all found this conversation as exciting, inspiring as I did. So please do share it if you found this educational and you want someone else to know about it. It would be great to share. If you're not subscribed to the H&V YouTube channel, please do as well. And as always, I appreciate your joining. And until next time, I'm your host, Bruce Larange, wishing you all happy and healthy breathing. Thank you.